What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. We are back for another episode of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. I am your host, Murph. I got Ricky over there in Chicago. Ricky, how are you doing today on this beautiful, well, at least here in New England, it's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day here too in Chicago. I'm doing a lot better than Bears fans right now, so that's pretty good.
That is true. And I know we have a lot to talk about today, but I'll just kind of mention this briefly. We did a deal on Instagram, and you were just throwing in a Justin Fields graded rookie just to get it out of your life. I wonder if Bears fans or Justin Field collectors feel the same way. It hasn't been a good start for him, and we have a lot to dive into. So we'll kind of, we'll get to it at some point. But how is the feeling in Chicago regarding
Oh my
Justin
gosh.
Fields?
For the first half of that game when Justin Fields looked like the best quarterback in the
He
world.
arrived.
And then just like the feeling that to know how everyone was feeling at that time versus
Mm-hmm.
how they felt at the end of the game was just so like I felt bad. Because like living in Chicago now, I know obviously I know a bunch of Bears fans and all that stuff, and they're just ripped. They had just had their hearts ripped. Like I actually felt so bad.
And like that's like a game where you can't point to Justin Fields and be like, he's the reason why
That's the
we lost.
thing.
And like you could point to a lot of games probably in his short career and be like, oh yeah, he's the reason why they lost. And we talked about this in the first episode. Quarterbacks need 3 years to prove themselves. Good, bad. What are you? The third year. Obviously, through Fields' third year, it's not looking good. But that Week 4 performance against the Broncos is definitely reassuring in some way that he does have the potential to be a very good quarterback that most of us thought he was going to be this year. So it's like a double-bladed sword. Like, do you feel good about your quarterback, but you feel bad about the law? Like, how do you? It's complicated, and obviously here in New England, Mac Jones is similar situation, but he didn't look good at all. But he has looked good. It's just
Yeah.
very complicated. But we have a lot to talk about. Ricky, I know you sent me a massive list of things to talk about. Guys, we're going to try to hammer out all the topics. But Ricky, what do you want to start with today?
Um, I wanna let's talk about some baseball real quick.
Love baseball.
I can't wait to see these playoffs. This is gonna be an exciting playoffs. I think telling people I think the real World Series is going to be whoever plays in the NLCS.
Okay, I would
I
agree with
think
that.
they have easily the top two teams with the Dodgers and the not the Phillies, the Braves.
Wouldn't you love a 7 game series of that? Just back
Oh
and
my
forth, win,
gosh.
lose, win, lose. It would just be like baseball at its purest because they are both the best teams in baseball. Disregard leagues. Obviously, the Orioles will give them a run for their money and such like that. But like when you look at the star power that both teams have and the way that both teams have been playing, like that's going to be a real. Hopefully, both teams get there first. But that'll be a
Yeah.
really fun series to watch.
I think if there's any team that ruins it, the Phillies. Phillies might be a little. They might be a little annoying to the top teams in that. I know.
So my thing with the playoff structure of baseball now is I loved the 1 game wild card that they introduced, like 10 years ago, whatever. I thought it was
Yeah.
super fun. It felt like a football game where it's like, one and done any given Sunday. And like oftentimes those games were the most exciting games during the whole playoffs sometimes, just because there was so much on the line. Do you
Mhm.
use your ace in game one? You might not see tomorrow, but you got to use them today. So you might
Basically a game seven.
exactly. It's literally a game 7, and I know we have a small sample size of the best of 3, and if we can get these best of 3 series to go 3 games and then be actually really fun and interactive, and like there's no blowouts and the crowd are into it, I think the first 4 games yesterday were really exciting, really
Mhm.
energetic. I mean, again, it's only game 1 for the 4 series, but I can't sit here and say like that team's going to win in advance guaranteed because I think all teams played well. I mean, probably the Phillies have a bigger edge on the Marlins than anybody else, but like I mean, you look at the other 3 series and like any of these teams could advance, even if one is down 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
Like,
that's why I love baseball playoffs, because there's so much that you need to consider, and I think the game itself is a much more complex than people give it credit for. But there's so many layers to baseball, and now that we're in the playoffs, everything, all those layers just fluffing up and really get really intense.
see that's also what I love about baseball, because like on any given night, any given day, it does, it's not always the best team that wins. It's whoever's having the better day. Whereas
Yeah.
like basketball, football, you see matchups, you're like, all right, you know who's going to win. But in baseball, anything can happen.
Like I really do believe that teams that go into the playoffs, and you could probably say this about any of the sports, that go into the playoffs hot and on a streak, that momentum carries them, and I think that actually means a lot. So you look at a team like the Orioles, who have to wait. What I think game one of the ALDS would be like on a Saturday, so they got to wait this whole entire week. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you have the Rangers or the Blue Jays clawing and fighting to win best of three series. But if they go 2-0, they got that momentum. It's just like that's a factor that needs to be considered. So, like, even though the Orioles have the bye week, let's call it, um, it could it could generate some rust for them. Meanwhile, let's say the Blue Jays sweep their best of three, and next thing you know, they're going into the divisional on a hot streak with a lot of momentum, and people don't really consider that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's always the hot teams. It's not necessarily better teams.
And I think that's why baseball, I mean, again, a lot of sports will kind of, bicker and batter about this topic, but that's why I think momentum is so huge and it's so important, especially with baseball, because a team like the Diamondbacks, for instance, no one expected Diamondbacks to make the playoffs. They started off hot, they cooled down, then they heated up in September. Corbin Carroll, his market's back up because he's been playing well, the runaway rookie of the year for the National League. And that just adds momentum. Do we think they're going to beat the Brewers in a best of three? I mean, going into the series, I didn't think so, but they won game one yesterday.
They
So it's
won
like,
game one. They had a
like
nice comeback. I think they were down 3-0.
exactly, exactly. And that just builds juice and builds the momentum. I keep saying it, but it has so much weight on a team positively and of course negatively in the same sense.
Yeah, if you had told me before the season that the Orioles and the Diamondbacks would be in the playoffs, I wouldn't have believed you.
I don't think
And
I would
that
have believed that the Rangers would have been in it, to be honest. The
the
Marlins,
Twins.
yeah, it's just like it's as much as we're Red Sox fans, it's nice to see different teams in it. Not see, I think there was a stats like since '93, the first time since '93 that the Red Sox, Yankees, and Cardinals, one of those three teams didn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as much as Red Sox fans we are, it's a little refreshing. It's good to see that the sport has so many good teams because, like, look at basketball. The Bucks are going to be there. The Celtics. The 76ers are all going to be there. And then but like there's going to be teams that might sneak in. The Pistons, I mean, who knows? I'm just trying to use an example, but again,
Yeah,
half of the field you could have said that they weren't going to make the playoffs, and I would have been like, yeah, of course not, because they're not that good, or there's better teams out there. So baseball's a long season for a reason. Oh, that kind of rhymed. And it shows precedent on how important that the length of the season is, because you can't judge a team based off of the first month. It's a long season. Again, the teams that got hot got in. Look at the National League wild card race. That was crazy.
that was intense.
The Giants cooled down, the Reds cooled down, the Cubs, I mean, they were hot
Cubs
for a bit, but they just
choked.
they
Cubs
couldn't keep it
choked
up.
so
So
bad.
yeah, how's the feeling out in
Oh my
Wrigleyville?
goodness. Just Chicago sports in general right now. They're not doing too hot.
Listen, I know that we're going to talk about the Celtics trade for Drew Holiday in a moment, but like Boston sports, I don't feel cozy about either. I mean, I wasn't high on the
Yeah.
Red Sox. I said on my other podcast that the Red Sox weren't even going to win 80 games. Sure, behold, they didn't, even though I wanted them to. Patriots not in a good spot. Bruins, I think, are going to seriously regress. And I know I kind of alluded to it, but let's talk about Celtics Drew Holiday. So how do I feel about Drew Holiday? I mean, you trade away Marcus Smart. You bring in Drew Holiday, essentially the same player. What are the Celtics doing? Like, what's Brad Stevens planning? 'Cause I have no
For,
idea.
First off, Brad Stevens must have something personal against me because he traded now my second favorite player on the team in Robert Williams after trading my first favorite player, Marcus Smart. So I don't know what I did to Brad Stevens, but
There's
I
this
think he has it
guy,
out for me.
Ricky. He
But
lives in Chicago. He used to live in
yeah,
Boston, but he
he
moved to
should have stayed in
Chicago.
Boston. Now I'm going to trade his favorite players.
And to to be a pain in his ass, I'm gonna trade away his favorite players because he moved to Chicago.
Yeah,
Absolute,
you want to leave
absolute
Boston?
revenge. It's a revenge tour on you.
You want to leave Boston? Fine. Your favorite players will too. It's
Gone. Oh
come
yeah, you're not
on,
coming back. You're not coming back after I traded Smart on you. Rob Williams gone.
double down.
Exactly.
But
Like I was telling you, don't like anybody else. Don't like Tatum. Don't like
yeah,
Brown.
right,
Don't like
yeah.
anybody. Just I like
I,
the
I,
Celtics. Just
I
that's
was
it.
gonna say I just like the Celtics. I'm
That's
not
it.
gonna
How
buy
about
anyone
this?
else's jerseys. I'm
Like
not.
Joe Mazzulla. Maybe he'll trade him too.
Yeah. No, I like Joe
Uh,
Mazzulla.
I do too. If if the Red Sox, wow, if the Celtics didn't have playoff aspirations last year, I would have loved it. Like if he was on a rebuilding team, I think it would have been
Yeah.
great. But filling the shoes that he had to with Udoka, who was a very beloved coach here, had a lot of early success, and then you throw in Missoula a week before training camp. Obviously, with the championship aspirations, it's tough on a rookie head coach. And I think now that we're a year removed from the whole Udoka situation, and obviously Joe Mazzulla's got a whole year under his belt, I do think that will favor him a lot because experience with anything is very valuable. And I think the experience that he's going to have going into this year with the new players and new roster and stuff like that, I think will bode well for him long term.
Well, what went wrong with him in the playoffs last year was running into Eric Spoelstra.
I just
You're not going to outcoach Eric Spoelstra, especially as a first year coach.
and like I just the thing I didn't like the most of Missoula was his rotations made absolutely no sense. Like I feel like Tatum or Brown was on the bench when they shouldn't have been, and then obviously the big identifier is a lack of timeouts. I'll never forget. What was it? I think it was game one. The third quarter, the Heat scored 50 something points, and Joe Missoula didn't call a single timeout. And like I'm not gonna sit here and say the timeouts would have saved the game. You would have won if you called a couple timeouts, but like it helps.
Yeah.
You're on the wrong end of a 12-2 run. Snap a timeout, regroup, talk to the team, and just reset and hopefully try to kill the momentum. I mean, going back to our other conversation, momentum is a serious thing, and so hopefully he's with Sam Cassell now on the coaching staff and such like that, and obviously the players that they brought in. A lot of people around here, at least, love the Drew Holiday trade. They love the Kristaps Porzingis trade. They don't like Rob Williams going out, but they like the trades. So
Listen, that's the same boat I'm on. It's an emotional reaction to hate the trades because they're my favorite players. But honestly, I do think they made the team better. I
long
think
term,
if we could re-sign Drew Holiday, which would be tough with Tatum and Brown's contracts, but if we could re-sign Drew Holiday, then that was a steal of a trade. I think he, as much as it hurts to say, I think he is a better Marcus Smart.
I I think if Marcus Smart is like an 8 out of 10 player. Like I think Drew Holiday is like a 9 out of 10. He's got the experience. He's got obviously, I think he's more thicker stock. He's more of a facilitator. He's more of a little bit more of a scorer. And I think all those just really add up. Plus, it's a new voice in the room. Rob Williams being gone, you can spread the floor now, but you don't have a true big man. I mean, Al Horford and Porzingis isn't going to be your five every single minute of the game, and I don't even think they're going to both play 82 games. Horford sure as hell isn't. So like, I don't know. I don't know what the Celtics are going to do with the big man position. I'm curious to see that if they want to go in a different direction because obviously Time Lord is that shot blocker, rim protector, big man doesn't really spread the floor all too often. But with him gone, you can do a couple different things with your lineup now, and as much as I hate to see Time Lord go, I'm curious to see what, Missoula and the Celtics are able to kind of, conjure up to see, how they attack the season offensively.
Everyone in the comments sections are saying that we should sign Dwight Howard.
Why not? I mean, at this point, why not? Because all the other players that they've been signing, I couldn't tell you who they are. Like I see like
Yeah,
things pop up, like sign them to a training camp deal, a 2-way contract. I'm like, who the hell are these guys? I've never heard of them.
I,
What was
I
it?
think Dwight Howard would be a good veteran presence in the locker room. I think
That's why I wanted Blake
he,
Griffin back.
yeah,
Just size. I can shoot a little bit, so he can space the floor. Veteran presence. He's not going to bitch and complain.
got along
Um,
with everyone, hustled when he was on the
yeah,
floor.
yeah. So it's like, um, it made a lot of sense to bring him back. And like, as far as I know, Blake Griffin hasn't retired. He hasn't signed with anybody. So like, I don't know. I think it'd be a good little fit, especially where he made spot starts during the year too. At times. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, I'm curious to see what the Celtics do this year. Obviously, they're very favorited as much as Milwaukee is,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't guarantee anything. Just because you're favored, it doesn't guarantee anything.
It's all on paper.
That's it. That's it. Right now, my paper's got nothing. All right, where are we going next? Pick a direction.
Let's talk. Oh, let's talk a moment about the legend, R.I.P. Tim Wakefield,
Oh, my UPS
best
driver's here. Give me
knuckleball.
a second.
Oh,
Give me a
all right.
second. My UPS driver's here. But yeah, Tim Wakefield. People that might not know him, he's been retired for over 10 years now. I think 12 years.
Oh my
People listening might not
gosh.
even know who he is or remember who he is. Famous knuckleballer, one of the best knuckleballers of all time. Um, Better human than player. And I mean that in a great way because he was a really good player. 200 game winner for the Red Sox, 2-time World Series champion. It's There's not enough you can say about Tim Wakefield if you knew him. And I obviously, I don't know about you, never really knew him all too well,
Yeah.
but just from seeing him in the community, obviously on Nesson when he was a player, it's just a lot of good in one human, and that embodied Tim Wakefield. And I feel like it happened so fast. His he got like rushed to the hospital like a few days ago for an undisclosed injury or medical condition, and then comes out the news that he died of brain cancer, I believe, a brain disease.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Brain
just
cancer.
like it happened all so fast, I feel like, and it is quite unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It did happen. Well, the unfortunate way that we heard the news that happened. That only happened like a few days before he passed. So it's like you said, everything just happened so quickly. We couldn't even process him having like brain cancer before he passed away.
Exactly, yeah. And so like it makes you think like, how long has he had that for? I mean, obviously I'm no cancer expert, but like, could it have just have happened all over the course of a week? I mean, maybe for all
Mm-hmm.
we know. It's just quite unfortunate, beyond belief, just because why Tim? I mean, he was such a great person, like I already said, and it's like obviously you don't wish that upon anybody, but like Tim is like the last guy you want that to happen to. And I think the Red Sox community, baseball community, really, really took a hit when he passed, just because of all the other things I've said.
Yeah, I never heard anything bad about him. Everyone liked him. It's just
One
it's
thing,
a hit. It's a hit for Red Sox Nation.
yeah, and like one thing I never really understood is why was his number never retired? And like he spent what 15 years with the Red Sox, two World Series, 200 game winner.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the best of man in the community. It's like all these qualities you would think would kind of get him, you know, up there with all the other legends and all the other numbers. But like, I don't want his number to get retired because he passed away now. Like, I still want his
Yeah,
number to be retired, but like, I don't want it to be like the Red Sox be like, huh, maybe we should do this now. I mean, it would be
that
nice, obviously.
it probably will happen like that. As unfortunate as it is, like it would have been nice if he could have been here to see it happen. But I could see,
Exactly.
I could see it happening now, which is justified. It's fair to honor his legacy, to honor the player and person he was.
Exactly. And like it would have been sweeter if he was able to see it. Like I could like I know Veritek is still with the team. Like I'd like to see his number obviously get retired. But he's still technically with the team. Like it's Dwight Evans, Manny, I'd still like to see those guys get their numbers retired. So it's just like if anybody out of all of them, put stats aside, it's probably Tim Wakefield. And if you want to throw in stats, you could probably also say Tim Wakefield as well. So it's I don't know. The Red Sox organization is going through a lot of things right now, and
Yeah.
it's just baffling to me how we got to this point. Where 2 years ago the Red Sox were in the American League Championship Series, so much has changed, all for the worst in just 2 years.
Red Sox. I was telling a friend of mine this. Red Sox like to do this little thing where, like, it was a little stretch of the 2010s where they were worst to first, worst to first, where it's like
Keeps happening.
I just don't. How do you do that? Like you have to try to do that.
They're doing it so consistently. Like it's
Like
not like it's just a spurt. It's consistently. Makes no
it,
sense.
2012 with Bobby Valentine, last place.
Gross.
2013 with John Farrell,
World Series
World
champions.
Series. 2014, pretty sure they came in last place. The same thing happened between 2017 and 2019. Pretty sure
Just,
they missed the playoffs both years, and then in 2018 they won the World Series. So it's like
and they were the
I
best
don't.
team in baseball by far that year too.
I just
So,
don't.
and then like, I think it was like a couple days before the season ended, the Yankees win their 81st game, and it's like Yankees have a 500 record for the 31st season, 31st consecutive season. It's like holy crap, like that's insane. Obviously,
Yeah,
if you're a Yankees fan or even a Red Sox fan, you don't care about having a 500 record for 30 something years. You care about World Series championships, and like it's just I mean, just thinking about that, 31 straight years of a 500 record or better, it's just wild to me. Meanwhile, the Red Sox here are struggling between going last place and then getting first place, which I don't like the pendulum swing. I want consistency, and I guess the Yankees for 31 years have been at least consistent, mix in a few World Series titles as well, and some ALCS appearances. But it's puzzling, and hopefully the Red Sox can fix their consistency of being inconsistent. Hopefully they can kind of figure that out this year.
Going back to the playoffs talk real quick. If you had told me that 3 teams from the AL East would make the playoffs and none of them would be the Red Sox or Yankees, I
It
would
made
have
no
called you
sense.
crazy. I would have called you crazy at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And it just kind of goes back to my thing. It was like, it's good to see different teams. Like, I mean, obviously I don't care about the Blue Jays, Rays, or Orioles, but it's nice to see the Orioles just because they've sucked for so long. And like, they're all oftentimes that last place team, or when the Red Sox finish last, they're like that fourth place team. So it's different. It's like, I really have high hopes for this playoff run just because of the conversations we had earlier. Teams are different. The momentum, the adrenaline, having teams like the Diamondbacks and the Marlins, obviously the Orioles in it. It's just like you look back like 3 years ago or 5 years ago, and you said that those kind of teams were going to be in it. It's just in some of the teams that aren't in it. You'd be like, wait, what? Cardinals aren't in it. Red Sox, Yankees, they're not in it. But the Marlins are. The Diamondbacks are. Yeah, it's just one of those
Mets.
things where the glory of baseball, the glory of baseball.
Yeah.
And and speaking of consistency, it's funny how you think about a lot of people just kind of think about like a 1 year sample size, 2023. So you just kind of focus on 2023. But if you look at a bigger sample size, like the Granted, it was the COVID season and half the league made it. But the Marlins made it in 2020 too. So like, are they gearing up towards something? Are they now that Jazz Chisholm's healthy? It seems like that pitching rotation's kind of figured it out. Like, are they onto something? Down there in Miami where they've had consecutive last place losses. Who knows? Who knows? But I do want to, speaking of consistency, again, I do want to talk about something that has made my life a little consistent, and that's of course Magic Mind here, guys. And consistency is something that I really like, as you guys can tell from the conversations I've had. Consistency, Magic Mind kind of go hand in hand, at least for me, because through Magic Mind, I've been able to really stay more focused. I've been able to have more energy. I feel like I got a lot more juice today than I've had in the first two episodes. Just, really engaged, really energized. And I think as a podcast host, as a card shop owner, as an entrepreneur, as someone that's going to be going to some early morning shows, this is going to be crucial for me. I mean, I'm going to Stamford, Connecticut, Saturday morning. I'm leaving at 5 a.m. Guess what I'm reaching for? I'm reaching for Magic Mind because it's going to be a long 2.5 hour drive at 5 a.m. and I'm going to need something to help me get there. And I do think Magic Mind is going to be that. I love the calories being only 21, the total fat 1 gram, the carbs 3 grams, sugars 3 grams. I mean, this is very, very healthy compared to a lot of other drinks on the market right now. It's in a small bottle, so there's no need for giant cans or anything or cups. Like, this is water right here, and this is huge. But having Magic Mind in the small bottle is just super convenient, so I can bring it with me to and from shows. I can have it in my car and not take up a lot of space. And with show season upon us, mornings are going to get earlier, and I'm going to need some help, to stay energized, to stay focused. And I'm very excited to bring Magic Mind with me for this show season, which I will be doing very, very often, probably every show, if I'm going to be completely honest. So guys, check out Magic Mind. Use my link, magicmind.com/jmurph to get 20% off your order. And you could get up to 56% off a subscription by using jmurph20 at checkout. So guys, please give Magic Mind a check if you want to change your life for the better. Again, more energy, stress less, laser focused, all things I love to have a part of my life, and I'm sure you guys would as well. So Magic Mind, thank you for sponsoring today's episode, but let's get back into what we need to talk about, Ricky, and that is where do you want to go? Court ruling? Do you want to talk about Babe Ruth? I know I'm kind of, showing a little cheat sheet here of what we're talking about, but which direction should we go in?
I kind of want to talk about the whole Bowman 23 Chrome that's been going on. There's been a lot of things going on with that drop. The $200,000 Babe Ruth Bowman first 1/1 has finally been pulled.
I heard somewhere the 200,000. I don't know why I'm holding that 200,000. But I also heard some other places only offering $15,000, and I'm thinking to myself, like, do you know this?
Yeah. So it was. I don't want to say it was Baseball Card Exchange, but it was one of those companies. It wasn't like 200,000 or 15,000. It was, if you pulled it from them, they're going to give you 15,000 for pulling it. And then Dave and Adams would give you the money for the card.
So it's funny because thanks for clearing that up. There was a guy who was here at the shop, and I was telling him how much I like Bryce Young, Alabama fan and all that. And if you pull a Bryce Young autograph, I'll give you cash on the spot. He was like, "Oh, a buddy of mine has has a Bryce Young autograph. I'll have him bring it in." I was like, "It's really only if you pull it here in shop." And he's like, "Oh, you wouldn't want it then?" I was like, "No, I didn't say that, but I would like it to be pulled in shop just to, get me excited and such like that." So like, I think he got the point of it, but he like didn't at first. But anyways, this whole like, Bowman Chrome auto thing that's been going on. Was it the superfractor 1/1s?
The superfractor 1/1s, non-autos.
Not autos.
No, sorry.
Aren't they? I
No,
feel like
I
they
think
are.
it was non-autos.
Oh my goodness. Look at us having a hobby
No,
podcast and we don't even know what the hell's going
no, it
on.
was the non-autos
Okay.
because I feel like players would have known if they signed two 101s, but
Oh, they're just signing stickers for all they know.
yeah, no, but
um,
they now that they're putting a buyback program on this whole thing, I personally think that was a genius marketing plan by them because now that
by
there's a
Tops, well, Bowman, whatever, Fanatics, same
yeah,
thing
not now that there's a buyback program on these superfractors, people are going to buy more packs
to get
looking
them.
for the superfractors to get the bounties.
So let me ask you this. This is out of left field. I gotta just bring it in from left field. Would you rather have a Babe Ruth Superfractor 1 of 1 or like an Ethan Salas Superfractor 1 of 1? And for those that don't know who Ethan Salas is, he is catching prospect for the San Diego Padres. He's like 17 years old. He's already a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. Um, Absolutely wild in my opinion, but it's good to see, a massive youth movement. And I don't know if he'll be on the Padres roster to start next season, but I wouldn't be surprised. He is that good. So would you rather have arguably the best player of all time in Babe Ruth, top 5, I would at least say, or would you rather have a top 5 prospect who's only 17 years old? Ricky,
Are we like
what are you taking?
disregarding the bounties and all that?
Yeah. Just card long
Disregarding
term.
it, eat themselves.
Why is that?
As crazy as that sounds, because I know I kind of speak out against it. Like, oh, why are you investing in these young players versus the proven players, whatever. But to be this good at 16, 17 years old, I think he has a high ceiling. And I feel like it could go up even more. Whereas Babe Ruth, like, what is he gonna do to drive up his like
But he's
he
one of
already
the best ever. Salas could
yeah, but
flame out.
that's like
Speculation.
no, but like what there's nothing really to drive up Babe Ruth's card price except
So
someone wanting it more than you to pay a higher price.
So I, it's really hard to kind of compare Babe Ruth and Ethan Salas for obvious reasons, but like this is Ethan Salas's first Bowman Chrome card ever, and as is Babe Ruth. Obviously, Babe Ruth didn't have Bowman Chrome cards when
Well,
he was playing in the 1900s. So a lot of people are
the
kind of
funny
iffy about. Go ahead.
the funny thing is Babe Ruth had a Bowman Chrome card in 2016. So this
Really?
isn't even his first Bowman
But
Chrome
they're
card.
slapping the first on it.
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. It makes zero
What uniform
sense.
was he in? Was he in a Yankees uniform?
I want to say Red Sox.
Because the direction that they're going with this is like what did he make his debut in 1914 or whatever? So it's like a
Yeah, let's say that.
1914 Red Sox Babe Ruth card, kind of like a prospect card. And I like the idea of it, but like that was like 110 years ago. And like
So
again,
yeah,
product didn't exist then, so I get it. And I think they're doing it with him, Clemente, and some other guys too. And then they're retiring them, which I love that part of it, especially if they're going to retire them and not do it again. And like to give people access to these legends and that Bowman Chrome first kind of shine that we all love, it makes a lot of sense. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are kind of iffy about it.
yeah,
I guess
like
to answer my
it's a cool concept, but it doesn't really make sense.
it does if they weren't retiring it, I would be completely against it. But I mean, there's not a lot of Babe Ruth cards that people have access to unless it's just out of like Tops or like Mosaic or
Yeah.
something like that. So like, I mean, people want highly desirable Babe Ruth cards that they can afford, compared to like the 1930s cards. So like, I get the marketing scheme there. Um, to answer my own question, I'd say it's tough just because there's so much hype around Salas, just like with Jackson Holiday, just like with why am I drawing a blank? Marcelo Meyer, Spencer Torkelson a few years ago.
James Wood.
I'm just trying to think of like top 5
No,
picks. I don't
Just throwing them
I
in
don't even
there.
know where James Wood was drafted, to be honest. And but whatever. Um, I don't. I just think the Babe Ruth card has more of an appeal to it, just because of the story behind it. If I had to pick right now, I'd probably go Babe Ruth, just because of the weird story behind it, the kind of half love, half hate for the idea of it. I don't know. For me, that's just kind of appealing in a way. I don't know. Especially where
So
he is proven and his career is not going to go downhill, whereas Salas could. But Salas could play great for the next 20 years for all we know, but he's never going to be a Babe Ruth. So if you look at it from that perspective, um,
so this
plus
comparison
it's a
kind
Red
of,
Sox card.
well, yeah, of course. This comparison kind of like draws a picture of the card market today. It's like nostalgia versus flippers, where people who are like nostalgic for the cards, like they're collectors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're the ones who buy the cards to hold, to collect, build sets, whatever. Then these flippers are, whatever. They are what they are. They're, Ethan Salas would be like a flipper's card, and the Babe Ruth would be a collector's card.
I think I completely agree. The Babe Ruth card may have one sale, and that's from somebody who pulled it, flipping it for the money, and then whoever buys it is going to keep it because you're not going to spend that kind of
Okay.
money. Whatever the market price ends up being after David Adams, I guess, buys it for 200 grand, or maybe someone else wants to buy it for more. I think that's going to stay in someone's collection compared to Ethan
Mm-hmm.
Salas. Like, if he makes his big league debut in March next year and he starts, I don't know, like on a crazy 10-game hitting streak or whatever, that card's going to get flipped really fast. All Ethan
Mm-hmm.
Salas cards are going to get flipped really fast. So I agree. It just depends on your mindset, collector's mindset or the flipper's mindset, which you could say that about any player, any card, any sport in regards to this. Um, but the whole superfractor thing that's going on, I know, kind of diverting a little bit. I It is a marketing scheme, I think, from Fanatics, Topps, Bowman. I know I'm completely shifting gears here, but I think that it
Well,
is a marketing standpoint. But it makes you look bad, though. Like there should be only one of one copies of this from a trusted brand, a trusted company, where the market for said cards are already crazy. And meanwhile, we've seen ample, almost what,
and there
100 duplicates.
94 duplicates of one-on-ones.
Like I understand. Like, I mean, there's no way that they sat in a room and be like, we're going to print out. I mean, 94 is, we know there could be more. Let's just call it 100 for easy numbers. We're going to put 100 one of one superfractor duplicates into this product. So people find out that we have a bounty and they buy more. That just sounds like a terrible game plan. That has to be an issue on the conveyor belt, in the printing room, on the production line. And obviously, they're remedying the problem by issuing these bounties, which I think that's good. But like, I don't know, your reputation, your credibility, I think takes a hit. Now, Panini did this, they would be crucified. But I feel like nobody's crucifying Fanatics for doing this. People are like,
Yeah,
oh, it's a fine. We'll rip the products, we'll find them, we'll cash in the bounty, and see you later.
that's exactly what it is. Well, on some of the on some of the Facebook card groups that I'm in. I'm already seeing some shady stuff going on with these superfractors. Where there's one example on eBay where a day before the bounty was announced, this particular player had a 25K. No, this card of this player sold on eBay for about $2,000, and then the next day
Nuts.
the bounty is announced, where they have $25,000 for his one of one, and then the eBay cancels. The eBay seller intercepts the package and has it sent back to him and cancels the order. So like
Like, are
it's
you not surprised? Like,
I'm not. It's
it's
some
just
shade. It's so shady.
like I totally understand people wanting to make as much money as they can and capitalize on a booming market right now. And there's people that are, and there's people that will. But it's just like, I feel like your integrity, not just you, but just in general, your
Yeah.
integrity would get shot if you did something like that. Like for me, I I pride myself on integrity, on honesty, on transparency, and like as much as that would pain me to watch 20 something extra $1,000 go out the door, I mean, as a business, as a brick and mortar, as someone who cares about, what other people think of my shop, it's just you have to think bigger picture. Now, if this guy
Yeah.
on eBay doesn't care about his seller feedback or such like that, or his reviews there, fine, go ahead. But like, maybe it's just me who doesn't have the potential to have 25 grand in my pocket compared to $2,000. So like maybe I'm a little biased because I'm not in that situation, but like that's why I hate one of many reasons why I hate doing deals online with like eBay, Facebook, or Instagram, even with people I don't know, is
Yeah.
because of something like that. I've received cracked slabs before. I've received the wrong cards before, lost packages before. It's just really disheartening because whoever bought the card for $2,000 probably wanted it for a good reason. They thought they were getting a good deal. Maybe they like the player, know the player, whatever. Um, and now they're not going to get that card, and then they're going to get refunded, of course. But you're not buying the card to get refunded. I tell people that all the time. Is yeah, you'll get refunded from PayPal or eBay or whoever, but you're not buying the card to receive a box of rocks just to go through a
Yeah.
2-week process to get your money back. It's wild, especially at that kind of a price tag, at like that $2,000 tag. Anything over a few $100s, I think, is needs caution.
Yeah. That's
Humble
fair.
opinion. Humble opinion. But hopefully we don't see too many more of these one of one duplicates pop up. I mean, you said 94 that we know of. How many more are going to get ripped? How many more are there really out there? Could we see this in another product? Maybe, hopefully not, because it is a sneaky marketing plan, which makes no sense, but it gets you and I to buy more of the product to hopefully pull one of these duplicates to hopefully cash it in for crazy money. But that's a Topps Bowman Fanatics issue. What about Panini and their issues? Like, they have so many issues going on right now, but it seems
Well,
like they did get a win in a
I
court
was gonna
ruling.
say they finally caught a break, being
So
allowed
fill
to.
us in on that.
So the court ruled for now that they're allowed to print football cards again. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe. So I think they'll be good for a few months until the next hearing. NFLPA is obviously against that since they try to cancel their contract. But I think it's going to be a few months before anything else can really happen. So I think they're good for now. But who was it? WWE that cut their ties with Panini
Yep,
too.
they terminated the contract like last week. I want to say it was like Monday last week, something like that.
It's crazy.
So, no legal expert here, but I did watch the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard documentary, so I feel like I have like at least a associate's degree in legal rulings. But it's just all the first thing everybody wondered when the first news broke was, how are we ever going to get football products again? 2 days later, Luminance came out, and it's like, okay, then you get Mosaic, you get Places and Patches, and Score and Legacy, and all that. So you get a bunch of, a few other products. Actually, Score and Legacy came out beforehand, but now it seems like it dried up a little bit. But always wanted to know, was there like a stipulation where whatever already started production, would it be allowed to finish production?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that they probably finished whatever that window of products was. But now that they're able to make more products, um, I just hope, and I feel like Panini is going to do this, but I really hope not. They're just going to bombard us with
Pump,
products
yeah,
because they might
pump everything
fear.
out.
What's that?
Yeah, like pump everything out.
Because they fear whenever this next court ruling is, let's just call it December, January. I have no idea. By then, they actually may lose the court case because of whatever the court decides the reason why, and then they're not going to be able to do it at all, and everything after that is going to be an illegal conduction of business. So they might give us Prism, Optic, Flawless, everything in a matter of a couple of months, and I think that is going to, I guess that's what they have to do, but I think that's going to absolutely just ruin the football wax market. I know Prism 2022 Prism hobby boxes are, I think, 1,100 right now. I know I have mine for 1100, but you might be able to find it for 11, 1150, 1200 maybe. And right now, that's the last Prism football hobby box we're ever getting. But if they print out another one, but 2 days later you get Flawless, 3 days later you get
Mhm.
Optic, and then another 2 days you get Rookies and Stars. That's just all. I mean, people can't afford all that in a market where a lot of people don't want to rip to begin with. So Panini is, I think, ultimately screwed, and I think if they do that, they're going to only screw themselves even further. So
Yeah.
Ricky, what should they do, and what should we do as collectors, as hobbyists, as people who want to open products? Like, I just went on a rant. I need to breathe. Tell me what I do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do.
What Panini should do is, unfortunately, they should pump out as much, like from a business standpoint, you should pump out as much as you can. Because if you know you're going to lose a license, then you don't have
Who
much else
cares?
to lose.
Exactly.
If you're gonna lose your license, lose your business and all that, then who cares about quality control? People are still gonna buy it.
That's the thing I've been preaching is they could make this card that's supposed to be centered like this, which they've done, and they could make a whole product like that, and people are still going to buy it. Wild to me.
But what? Oh, gosh, what should we do? I don't even know.
Like, I think
Like,
Panini is going to give us the heavy hitter products first: Prism, Optic, Flawless, Immaculate, National Treasures. I think they're going to prioritize those products while they have this window of operation, legally at least. What should we do? It's not like we can boycott them because people are still going to buy it. People still going to want the CJ Stroud and the Anthony Richardson cards.
mm,
And
eh,
if we're getting Prism and Flawless way earlier than we did last year, everyone's going to jump on it.
uh, it,
It's
the thing
tough.
is, like,
It's tough.
if all of these things are out at the same time, then that might be good for the buyer, because maybe a product that was expensive one year, if there are multiple things out at the same time, maybe it'll be a little cheaper because money are going to different things. But I
As
don't know.
as a as a LCS owner and someone who buys product direct from distributors, I have a really strong feeling that Panini is going to push a lot of it out there,
Yeah,
and they're going to want their direct pricing as normal. Like, what I mean by normal as their regular release schedule. Like, you get a product 2 weeks later, you get another product 2 weeks later, whatever the timeline is. Like, I feel like they're still going to want that pricing for products that are releasing 1 week now after each other, a few days now after each other. But the aftermarket pricing isn't going to reflect that because it is so flooded. Casual Joes aren't going to be able to afford all these products. So if people can't buy a hobby box for $500, they might not be able to do it for $400, but they might be able to do it
yeah.
for $300. But the other hobby box is also $300. So now you're almost getting two for the price of what one should already have been. So, like, I really do think the aftermarket pricing is going to favor buyers, people who want to flip them, not flip them, people who want to open them. I don't think it'll favor breakers because breakers, oftentimes get that product direct too. So I think the breaking industry might tank a little bit because why should I pay $100 for a division when I could just buy the box for $300? Something like that. So I think there's a
Yeah.
lot more layers to this than people may realize. And I'm just trying to look at a big picture, obviously, for my shop and for my shelves and obviously what I need to buy. Um, but I think this is a lot bigger of a situation than just Panini being allowed to print cards. Again, just speculation on our behalf, but I'm just trying to look into the future here because if a product's supposed to be $500, but now you can get it for $300 because that's just the market. I mean, people aren't buying a product. Me, online retailers, they're going to drop the price down. They're going to keep dropping it down until people are buying it. And again,
Well, here's the thing too. If this is gonna be Panini's let's say last season of football having a license, I I would kind of want to buy that wax to hold,
And
not even to rip.
that's actually what Joe said. I know you know who Joe is. Joe's a guy that
Yeah.
comes to the shop. He's a friend of ours. And he said, you should put that hobby box, the 2022, in the back. Because that might be the last one. And I was like, listen, if someone wants to buy it, let them buy it. I mean, I'm not going to put it in the back just to hold. But I agree. I mean, it could be the last flawless, last NT. And like, I think that's going to kind of, obviously draft class depending, but I think that's going to hold a little bit of weight long term if it is the last.
But again, that's investor versus flipper thing. It
Your
depends how quick. It depends
your
how
face
quick you
cam
want your money.
froze.
Oh, you're good on mine.
Oh, okay. Hold on. What if I remove you and then bring you back? Oh, there we go. Oh, you're back. Yeah, it is. You know, investor, flipper, ripper, collector. I mean, there's a lot of different avenues that people are going down, could go down, should go down, and will go down. Just because I think a lot of people are going to have different perspectives on this. Obviously, we're voicing ours, but I think people are also going to be like, well, the product's going to be trash because they're going to print out a lot of stuff. I'm not even going to bother buying it. That's a fair point of view to have. People might be buying it up because it's going to be affordable. They don't care what the print quality is as long as they get that one card in the good condition. That's another perspective to have as well. So very curious on how the market is going to shape over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, until the next court ruling, until something legal is finalized. It's just a lot is unknown right now, for good or for bad reasons.
Yeah. Speaking of football cards, real quick, how was your last trade night?
Trade night was good. I picked up a lot of Pokemon actually, ironically
Really?
enough, which I don't go into shows or trade nights with a plan. All right, I'm just gonna pick this up. I'm just gonna pick that up. Good deals. I prioritize good deals. And Pokemon has been very popular here, and that's something I can't ignore. So that's something that I've been really diving into. And with shows coming up, I think Pokemon's going to do very well. Pokemon singles and products have been doing well here the past, I don't know, 6 months. It's maybe arguably been one of the best sellers, if not the best seller. So as a business owner, I'm listening to my customer base and what they want, and they want Pokemon. So that's just kind of the nature of what I was able to pick up. But every trade night is really different. Some crazy, some are slower. I feel like a lot of people were able to get a lot of deals done because
That's good.
since there was less people than like, you know, let's say like a 25-person trade night, I'm able to spend more time, or people are able to spend more time going through cases and talking to other people and trying to get the best deals that they can. And people, funny enough, prefer the slower trade nights. I want as many people in the shop as I can get for a trade night, but people would rather have less so they can have more meaningful conversations and negotiations with them. Do you miss trade night? You have to miss trade night, right?
Yeah, of course I do. It gave me something to do every month.
Well, you're always
Something to
welcome
look forward to.
to fly back out here for a trade night.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Always welcome. Is there like any trade nights or anything like by you? Like any shops do trade nights by you?
I live not too far from Bridgeport Hobby.
Mm-hmm.
They had one of the Topps trade night things the other night. But other than that, I don't really know of too many trade nights happening around me, at least. Maybe more towards like out in the suburbs and all that stuff out of the city. But other than that, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I haven't gone to any out here.
I feel like almost every shop is doing a trade night nowadays in some way, shape, or form, just because of the popularity of trade night. It gets people in the door. It's become so popular because it's almost like a mini card show for people. Oftentimes it's free, or at least should be free, to get into the door for a trade night. Sorry, I got like hiccups. I'm trying to condense them. But you were going to say something.
But yeah, who since some of these quarterbacks aren't panning out anymore, who are some QBs or players that some of these guys were looking for at trade night?
Um, People have been avoiding Joe Burrow for obvious
Yeah.
reasons. Fields as well. I know we talked about him early in the episode, but people have been avoiding those two guys. There's not a lot out there, but people want Stroud and Richardson, obviously, because they're the new fancy toy in the league. They're actually playing well, which is very, very unexpected, being on the Colts and the Texans, two teams that no one really expected to do anything this year. But they're
Mm-hmm.
playing well, though. However, because of the whole Panini thing, there's just not a lot out there. There's collegiate cards, but there's not a lot of NFL cards. So it's tough for people to get into those guys. Those are who they want. Other guys, um, Tua is obviously
So, oh yeah,
Tua's back, which I expected.
even
Um,
though Josh Allen kind of humbled him last week.
that is true. That is true. I think Josh Allen humbled the whole Dolphins organization, let alone just Tua. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Like there's like a lot of the big name guys aren't playing good. Like I mean, I know
Yeah,
Mahomes is what he's 3-1, but like he's not playing great. He got outplayed by Zach Wilson the other night. So it's like,
he did.
I mean, I know
Actually,
Mahomes
yeah,
is. Yeah, he did. He like statistically, I think he had a better completion percentage, more touchdowns, less interceptions, more yards. Like
I,
I think
I
every major quarterback stat was better.
I have a bone to pick with Mahomes. Actually, I'm mad at him right now for
Mahomes.
sliding at the 1 yard line. Yeah,
So
I
I
took
I
the I
couldn't
took the I
watch.
took the I took the Chiefs spread -8.5. That would have
I
cashed it. That would have cashed it.
I couldn't watch the game because they were showing so much Taylor Swift and so much
Oh,
Travis Kelsey, and it was just so annoying, and it was just a
every
snooze
right.
fest of a game. I watched like a quarter of it. I do something else. I go to bed. I wake up and I saw the highlights and how he slid. I'm like, thank goodness, because I go into my Monday night game down only 7 points. I'm sorry, down by 17 points with like DK Metcalf, and I was like, I can still do it. But the Cowboys defense scored 26 fantasy points. They don't score those 26 fantasy points, I would have won because DK got like 10, 11 points in fantasy. So it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, but it was a crazy game that was actually much more interesting than I anticipated, which is a moral win for the Jets. I know they don't want moral wins, but it is a moral win for the Jets. And I really do believe that Zach Wilson is somebody that you could get a few cards super cheap. And when he does have that breakout game and he does play good, which I do think is coming with now Aaron Rodgers kind of back in the mix a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
it might be able to make a quick flip off of that. I really do believe that for people.
He has potential. He has the weapons. I think the Jets are still a good team with him. They just need to figure it out with him.
Yeah, I mean, their running backs are abysmal right now. Their wide receivers are good. The offensive line's abysmal. The defense is good. Like, there's a lot of great things in the mix there for Zach Wilson. The coaching's all right to succeed, but maybe Zach Wilson just stinks. And
Could also
people,
be it.
I mean, as big of a Mac Jones fan as I am, maybe he just stinks. Maybe Justin Fields just stinks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence isn't playing that good this year either. Maybe he stinks. I mean, again, we're overreacting a little bit, because it's only 4 weeks. I'm a big 6 week kind of a guy that likes to really, all right,
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson's 0-4, or I guess 1-5 in his 6 starts this year. He actually sucks. So, I mean, next episode for episode 4 on October 19th, guys, I think we're going to have a really good conversation. We're going to have a really good idea and perception of not only the football landscape, but I think the football market landscape, which we can dive into a lot next week because we'll have a much bigger sample size to go off of. So I think that's something Ricky and I are really looking forward to. But
Always.
any outgoing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Let's see. Shout out to my Bears fans, my friends that are Bears fans. I'm with you here. It's really the morale is just on the ground right now.
Hey,
But
it's
Justin
not that much better in New England.
Justin Fields is the future. I think he's a good QB. Mac Jones. But yeah, I think I it's just so tough right now for both Patriots and Bears fans.
I would say my going away thought is to buy these quarterbacks on a dip. I think Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, they're good buys on the dip because they have to rebound. They have to be better. We expect them to play better. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if Burrow can get over the calf injury or kind of figure it out with the calf injury, let's say, I think there is a lot of promise on the other end. There's no way that the Bengals are going to miss the playoffs, right? Like I guess there could be, but like I really think that there's a lot more than just
Yeah,
were they 1-3 or whatever. But
Kenny Pickett
ladies
isn't
and
going to keep him out of the playoffs.
no, I mean I don't think so either. They're too talented to miss the playoffs with all that talent on offense. Good coaching, of course. The line
Yeah.
needs to figure it out, but shop is going to open in like what 30 seconds. So I'm gonna have to wrap up this episode, or Ricky and I will have to wrap up this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for episode number 3 of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. We will catch you in 2 weeks for episode 4, like I mentioned, on October 19th, where we're going to be talking about football market, other major news that pops up between now and then, maybe some more Panini, headlines pop up between now and then. But Ricky, as always, thank you very much for being a part of this amazing podcast. And I'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure, Murph. Thank you.
See you guys.